Welcome everybody to DEF CON Group's VR. Uh, no, I can't. I can't hear Leith. In fact, I don't see Leith's avatar here. Somebody just asked me something on the admin thing. We're trying to find one of the speakers who seems to be missing. They were here a minute ago on the stage, but I'm not sure where they are now. Anyway, welcome to DEF CON Group's VR Community 2024 event. Our next presentation is about DEF CON groups, how to start one, how to run one. So we've got members of DEF CON groups who run DEF CON groups here on stage with us. Today, there's myself. I'm X-Ray. I moderate DC 404 here in Atlanta, Georgia. Alith, who I'm not sure where Alith is at the moment, but she runs DC 209 in Modesto, Turlock, California. Overcast is here with us today. Overcast runs DC 864, which is Greenfield, South Carolina in USA. And we have ABX, who is with DC 0471 Trivandrum. And TX, he's with DC 9111 in New Delhi, India. And I must say, if you have not seen the Discord for the group in New Delhi, India, they are extremely active and also hold their own DEF CON type event there in New Delhi. So it's really glad that we're here, you all are here today. So the point of this is if you're interested in starting or running your own DEF CON group or want pointers, if you are running one or involved in one and want pointers, this is the panel to be at. We're going to be asking the members here some questions about their DEF CON groups and how things got started. So I'd like to ask each of you a few simple questions. If you could introduce yourself in 1 to 2 sentences, what DEF CON group you're a member of and how old your group is and how did your group get started? So TX, I'll start with you if you could answer that.
Amazing. So sure, I'm gonna answer that. So this is TX, and basically, I'm the founder of DC 9111 or 9111 or 9111, whatever suits you the best. So basically, DEF CON Delhi started back in 2018, which was like 6 years from now. And this year we'll be hosting like our seventh iteration of events. And the first DEF CON that we first meetup sort of that we did, it was likely I was expecting around 25, 30, maybe 50 people at max. But when I was so shocked to see that more than 100 people showed up on the first event itself. And that's when I got to know that this is something big. It's just not another meetup sort of thing. And time passes on, and now I'm going to give you the quick statistics of the previous year's event. That was 0806, and there were total of like 700 attendees with a complete footfall of likely 1200 people for both the days. And it was more of a conference style. There were like multiple villages, including hardware hacking, IoT, and whatnot. There was this thing called 101 Village that we hosted last year, where the people who are new to the world of cybersecurity could learn a thing or two from the experts out there. So yeah, I mean, we have been doing this. We have been going strong since previous 6 years, and this year's going to be the seventh iteration of DEF CON Delhi conference. That's going to be on 19th and 20th October. So all the people here from India, let's you there. I would like to wrap up with that for now.
Well, thank you, TX. And let's see, ABX, are you here or are you AKF?
Hi, this is Abhishek from the Trivandrum or DC 0471. So we started our DC group back in 2018 itself, and we have hosted around 4 in-person meetups. And nowadays we are hosting weekly sessions on various topics in cybersecurity. And something that I wanted to highlight here is that at first, for the first meetup, I was just a attendee, and that time, what I noticed is in the meetup there were a lot of professionals who are from all levels of their careers, like from an early level and to even leaders. Then there were also students. At that time, at my particular city, Trivandrum, where this conference is happening, we were not having much other cyber security conferences, and this was really the beginning, and there were a wide variety of audiences uh, who were more than a mass. That's all from my side for now.
Well, thank you. Alith, could you tell us introduce yourself and also tell us what DEF CON group you're a member of and how old is your group and how did your group get started?
Absolutely. So, my name is Elise Dennis, and I am the co-founder of the DC 209 group. We're based in the Modesto Turlock area. We're close to Stockton and in the Central Valley in Northern California. We started in 2017 and we actually caught fire on the internet in the early stages of the pandemic because we were able to go virtual and capture the online audience, bring them into our virtual meetups. One of our meetups, I had to upgrade our Zoom license for over 200 participants, which was really exciting for us. And it was at that stage that Nikita finally put us on the website as an official DEF CON group. So our group, my husband Ryan and I founded, and as a result of our engagement from DC 209 and our involvement here in real life at DEF CON, I was invited to join the board of DEF CON groups, which is where I'm physically sitting right now in the DEF CON groups community at DEF CON, which is what all the noise in the background is. We have dual core here DJing for us in the room, so pardon the background noise, but I super appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thanks so much for having me.
Oh, excellent. And Overcast, could you give us the same thing, an introduction and what DEF CON group you're from and how old the group is and how your group got started?
Hey everybody, this is Overcast. I'm from Greenville, South Carolina with DEF CON 864, a relatively smaller group. We started back in 2018, but similarly, some of our more professional organizations with more curated talks from like ISSA in our area have traditionally had that foothold. But once everybody moved virtual in 2020, it really showed that a lot of people wanted to showcase some more of the research and skills that they had in our area. And so it allowed us to, we were more easily able to pivot. We were using Discord at the time for streaming. And ever since, we've always had a hybrid option of on-premise if you want to come. But if not, we stream the first portion of our meetings to be more inclusive because some of our folks are spread pretty far across our state as well as into North Carolina and Georgia. And we just, it's good to be part of a broader community in that area. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm X-Ray. I'm from DC 404 in Atlanta. I'm the host. It was founded in 2003 by Dr. Chaos. And when he left town, he's a contractor. And when he had to leave town, he handed me the bag of holding and said, "Tag, you're it." And that was the blessing I got by showing up and volunteering to help set up and tear down and be a regular there. They decided that I was stable enough to hand the bag of holding. So that's how I ended up hosting the event. Our group was founded in 2003, and it was started by Dr. Chaos. Dr. Chaos is a multiple-time speaker here at DEF CON, so that's how our group got started. Our next question, and this is one that I get asked a lot by other people trying to start groups, is how do you find a meeting space or a place to meet? Now, in our case, we meet at Manuel's Tavern here in Atlanta. They're kind enough to give free meeting space to any group in Atlanta who needs meeting space, and we've been meeting there for many years now. It was quite troublesome when they remodeled Manuel's Tavern. They were closed for a year and we had to find meeting space elsewhere. And we found that they wanted exorbitant prices. We were able to find a space, and one of the members of our group got their company to pay for our space for the year while we were away from Manuel's Tavern. As soon as Manuel's opened back up, we went back there. But it is very difficult. We found it very difficult to find meeting space for the number of people we had. That wasn't very expensive. that was one of the biggest problems. The other thing we looked for is we looked for a space that had plenty of free parking, preferably had adult beverages and food. So, for instance, one of the things we found is you can go to a public library and get free meeting space as long as your meeting is open to the public, which, of course, DC group meetings by charter are supposed to be open to the public. So that wasn't a problem, but there's no food or drink. So that was a bit of a difficulty for us. So we're glad that we have Manuel's Tavern, but I noticed that a lot of people aren't so blessed. So, Overcast, how did you find your meeting space?
Initially, it started out by having just some general conversations in our local area. There's a maker space in Greenville, and what the owner of that, once he heard that we were founding a DEF CON group, said, "You're welcome anytime. Here's the code to get in." And that's how we started. So it was free maker space in the area. But I will say, over time, we quickly moving to the library for that free meeting space, just simply due to growth and needing to accommodate some of those things. And to your point too, we've tried to center ourselves in our area, our territory, and be in a place where we have access to like an after party situation where you can go to a restaurant and coordinate that with people. Our meetings are in the evening, so it should make an easy transition from that conversation you're having together to go, breaking bread and sharing a beverage with each other and continuing that conversation. But yeah, pricing things out. Hotels are really expensive for meeting spaces, but for us, it's primarily been a library. Today, we're meeting in an open space, kind of one of those collaboration areas called OpenWorks, but it's an extension of a maker space, more for development.
I hadn't thought of maker spaces. That's an excellent suggestion. Alith, where do you meet and how did you find it?
We started off meeting in a bowling alley, which sounds a little crazy, but it's a newer bowling alley and they have restaurants and entertainment areas as well as the bowling alley. And Ryan, my husband, approached their staff and was able to talk them into allowing us to have our meetings there as long as we purchase food and drinks and things like that. And they even offered to give us a small discount off of food as long as we brought in a larger group. So it was kind of like making a reservation for a large group on a monthly basis. And so that's how we started out. Then the pandemic happened and we kind of had to adjust to the virtual life for a while. And then when we came back, he and I had office space with a conference room. And so we've adapted to having our meetings at the conference room and then having kind of like an after party if people want to go out afterwards. So we'll do like an hour meeting and then we'll go out to a restaurant afterwards to have drinks or dinner or food or something like that after the fact. I've also heard of other groups where they do something similar. They'll have like a formal meeting with a presentation and then go out for drinks or dinner or food afterward. And then they'll alternate every other month. They'll just do a purely social meetup where they'll meet at a restaurant and then have just a social meetup instead of something formal.
That's an excellent idea about going out to eat after having a meeting. I'm a member of a juggling club that does something similar. After they have their meetings, they go out to the local pizza place and eat together. So that solves the problem of having food and drink while there's a meeting. ABX, could you tell us how you found your meeting space?
So for our physical meetups, we collaborated with one of the organizations which were giving free space for startups and community initiatives. That's how we found our space.
Oh, excellent. And TX, how did you find your space?
Okay, so the space has to be definitely spacious enough to accommodate I'm pretty sure even if today I'm announcing that it's going to be only a meetup, I'm pretty sure more than 100 people are going to show up, even if it's not a conference. It's DEF CON Delhi events and conferences are much like a festival now, because each year we have been doing so many things, so much so that um, people just love the vibe. I just don't know what the heck happened, what actually happened when the DEF CON Delhi was announced, and I was, as I already said, that I didn't expect a lot of people, so we're just looking for some basic convention hall with an occupancy of say 15, 50, 50, 30 people. But then I saw the whole that convention center was booked completely, filled out with people, and then definitely we had to the team was tiny. Like there were like not more than three people who were managing all the things, and most of them arrived on the day of the event. So I was there with a friend of mine, Naman, who later went on to leave DCG because he had his own commitments to take care of. So talking about the places where do we meet, generally I'm always look in the lookout for the some institutes like some colleges where they have auditoriums. So for the instance, like in the 0x06 event that happened in December last year, we had likely three auditoriums, and we had around 4 to 5 rooms with an occupancy of 50 each, so that we could run various villages as well as talks as well as trainings as well as workshops. And definitely the parking was also taken from the college because we had hosted a car hacking village as well. So yeah, everything that's happening at DEF CON Delhi is really amazing so far. So that's that. We are always on the lookout for new spaces and new places to accommodate more and more people. Also depends upon our budget because most of it is financed through me, like it's on my own expense, and rest of it is taken care of by the sponsors. And I really don't know if anybody asks me why do you put it on your own pocket. I love it. That's it.
Well, thank you. One of the things that I don't remember who mentioned it is a virtual meeting. We also did that during COVID. We held our meetings online. One of our members stood up a Big Blue Button server, which is nice because it met the security requirements of our members. We find that our members are a tad bit security conscious, being, DEF CON. And so we've continued that since we've gone back to meeting in person, where we have a virtual event where we have both online and in person, and we stream the speaker so the people online can participate. So that's something else we've been doing too. Let's see. The next question is, um, where do you meet? Well, we already talked about that, but how often do you meet Overcast?
We typically meet once a month on the first Thursday, and the key here is we are consistent in that. So it's always the first Thursday unless there's a holiday that comes up, and then we coordinate an alternative with that. And it's usually either an in-person meeting or sometimes there will be an off meeting or an off week meeting where we'll just maybe do a walkthrough of a virtual machine or somebody will showcase something. But primarily it's always the first Thursday of the month for us to be consistent.
Abhishek, how about you? How often do you meet?
So yeah, were you asking about the virtual meetings, right? I was the one who earlier mentioned about the virtual meetings. So most of our virtual meetings were on a specific topic. Like one of the topics was how newcomers can get into cyber security and such topics. So on a week-to-week basis, we choose a topic that would be helpful for the audience and go ahead with that as the topic for our weekly sessions. That was how we were conducting the virtual meetup sessions.
Oh, thank you. And Alith, how often do you meet?
So our group meets monthly, except for August due to in real life DEF CON. So we meet the third Thursday of every month, and we try to be consistent with that unless there's a holiday, which Thanksgiving usually destroys that week in November. So we'll make adjustments where it makes sense. But usually the third Thursday works for most of the folks in our group. We do sometimes have things that come up, and we'll try to make adjustments just based on the group needs. and then just due to availability and scheduling and things like that. But we'll coordinate with our group members to make sure it works for everyone. Also, for groups that are curious about cadence, to remain an active group, we must remain consistent with meeting at least once a quarter in person. So sometimes we will have virtual meetups, especially in the winter when folks are really not wanting to go out later in the evening and stuff like that. So we'll sometimes coordinate a virtual meetup instead of in person, but we do monthly meetups just to keep the group engaged and to keep folks connected throughout the year.
On TX, how often do you meet?
Okay, so generally it has to be an annual event. So the conferences happen once each year, annual. So 0x06 and 5 have been 2 days event. So definitely annually. But when it comes to like the virtual conversation with the people from the server, we do it like once a month at least. And apart from that, somebody was talking. In fact, you were also talking about the times when COVID was there. COVID when it was on its peak. So during that time, we hosted 0x03 and 0x04. So that was called DC 9111 0x04 safe mode. So that was that, and we did all of these things online. So yeah, we meet annually usually.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, DC 404 meets once a month on the third Saturday of each month. Um, Now, our next question is, what is the format of your meeting? What kind of content and activities do you have at your meetings? So, TX, if you could start off with that.
Sure. Basically, because again, I'm gonna mention that again, because our events are more of a conference style, and it has been that way since previous two events. Basically, what do we have are multiple tracks. There are like parallelly some workshops are happening, some villages are happening, and some talks are happening. So, and of course, breaks are necessary. So, for the networking and stuff, definitely for the sponsors, we do put some sort of booths and spaces where they can market their stuff and whatever they are selling or whatever they have to provide, whatever they are serving to the customers and all of that. So, definitely, apart from that, the talks are depending upon because look, I'm nobody to judge if a talk is boring or interesting, but whatever the traction is based upon the social media, we sort of try to fit in all the talks in such a way that not everybody is bored from the topics that are above there, because there are certain topics are too hard to understand for everybody. Like, so say there are some basic talks, so we put it first, then one talk that's hard, then the one that's easy, then hard, then break, and so it goes like that, so that all the audience is being catered together, um, and not everybody gets bored, because again, defcon groups events are totally free for everybody, and we definitely have to take care of the crowd, we have to maintain it as well. Of course, I'll have to give a shout out to my Coombs team. We have been like running recruitments each year. It's extensive. Likely this year for the becoming DEFCON Coombs, more than 400 people applied. We narrowed down around 200 profiles. We interviewed around 100 people, and we handpicked around 20 people. So that's how it goes. The recruitment for the goons is extensive. I mean, I love doing that each year because a lot of people are coming in trying to volunteer, trying to like serve to the community where they have been into, where they have been coming from, and it's amazing. Like, I'm surprised each year by the number of people who are like willing to get to DefCon Delhi as well as who are willing to serve with DefCon Delhi. So that's what it goes like.
Oh, excellent. Alith, same for you. What kind of content do you have in your meetings and activities?
Kind of depends. Sometimes we'll focus on lockpicking, especially if we have newer, younger members to the group and they're looking for a more accessible entry point into hacking. We'll bring lockpicking tools in and help them feel a little bit more confident, give them a little bit of a boost. I think everybody feels that when they pop their first lock, they feel a little bit more like they belong. So we like to do that, especially if we have the kids joining the group and things like that. Then we'll have folks in the group that are doing research or that have things that they want to share with work that they've been doing. We've got a group of folks that are from IT MSPs, some folks that work in telecom, and others that are working on various projects. So they like to contribute from their day jobs as well as their hobby projects. And we try to have a good mix of personal projects versus work projects, and then social meetups in between. But I like to have kind of like a call for papers, but not really that formal, just amongst our group members to see who is willing to contribute and allow folks to volunteer to do that within our group. We'll also source speakers from outside the group to do presentations virtually to our group. In fact, we had the folks that put together the Heartbleed badge for the Biohacking Village a couple of years ago present to our group virtually a few months ago, and that was very awesome to have them take the time to come into our group and do that.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Abhishek, what kind of events do you have at your group meetings? Do you have what kind of content and activities?
Yeah, so basically and virtually we had lightning talks that are like short span talks of 15 minutes or 30 minutes. Then we had a few workshops and talks that last for around 45 to 50 minutes from industry experts and even students to make it really diverse. And apart from that, we also host a few capture the flag competitions in the meetups that would give hands-on exposure to the attendees, which would contain challenges from even basic level to intermediate level. Uh, our aim there is to introduce them to capture the flag competitions and like the hands-on side of cyber security. That's all we were doing till this point.
Oh, excellent. And Overcast, what do you have for content and activities at your meetings?
Our meeting is broken into three main phases, three main segments for each meeting. The first one is a presentation by a speaker, and we have 5 leaders who are trying to coordinate who those speakers are going to be, reaching out into our community, asking our members. We don't do any sponsors, so there's no sponsored talks. These are mainly things we want to hear from what the interests are in our local community. And that's more of a professional slide deck, show and tell kind of thing, demonstration. The second phase is we have an open mic projects time where anyone can stand up and share 2, 3, 20 minutes of what they're working on. And then we move into a kind of casual networking meet and greet phase in the building. And we usually have a table set up with lock picking or badge cloning. And we find that people tend to gravitate around that table and the conversations just really start to flow. And it makes it an easier transition to go from that event towards the dinner after party later on. Additionally, we do provide services to local conferences in our area, like Carolina CodeCon and B-Sides Greenville, to build out CTFs for those conferences. And we're toying today with making that a little bit broader to make a CTF for our local or government or municipalities to help them understand cybersecurity and hacking better than just the talking points they tend to hear from whatever sources they're getting them from. We'd rather them get them from a credible source than whoever's got their ear on social media.
That's a really excellent idea. And we don't formally have people reach out from our group. Primarily in DC44, we have speakers every month. We ask people to come in and talk. We promote people learning and practicing their speaking skills at DC44 so they can speak at conferences. Quite a few of our members are speakers at regular conferences, including DEF CON. We have Atlanta Lock Sport supplies our Lockpick Village every month so that we have quite an active group of lockpickers. We also hold a capture the flag called Network King of the Hill. Several of, myself and Brimstone and Grizzly Bear are all developers on the Network King of the Hill project, which is a really interesting CTF because it's so easy to set up and get running. It takes all of about 30 minutes to set one up and get it running. We've been running that for some time at our meetings, and it's been very, very popular. And that also spilled over into helping the restart up and get going the local Atlanta 2600 group had kind of fizzled out, and Brimstone, one of our members, got that going again. And like yours, Overcast, we also have an open sharing time after the speaker that people can come up and talk about any projects they're working on. We don't require slides or anything like that. It can be rather informal. And it doesn't even have to be a complete project. You know, they have maybe stuck on something and they just want input. We promote, just like here, people talking to each other. If they're there to talk to each other. And then we have an informal networking time after that. And of course, we also have our online component of that, which mirrors what we do in the actual space. Let's see. I had another really cool question here. Oh yeah, this is something that turned up to be really, really fun. One of our members started up a free cycle, and that's what free cycle is many of us, especially if you're an information security professional, you have a home lab, and over time you find that there's equipment that you don't need anymore. What do you do with that? Or if you have swag from conferences and things like that, what do you do with it? So we have a free cycle bin, and you bring stuff in and put it in the bin, and it actually makes the rounds to different groups. Like it'll go to 2600, it'll go to the other DEF CON groups. We have roughly 3 others in the area. It'll go around to those and make the circuit with stuff that people want to give away. We also have a channel on our Discord server for free cycles, so that if there's anything you would like to find a new home, you post it there and give it away to somebody who can use it. Do you have something similar, Overcast, in your group?
We do, but it's mainly coordinated through our Discord channel for that, for like home lab. So if we have had students who drop in and they're very interested in hacking or cybersecurity. So they kind of want to know what to do, how to build things out. But we also allow our users to extend, hey, I've got this part I'm not using anymore, who can use it? And they typically coordinate through Meetup at our group to do that transition and handoff. And occasionally we've had a table set up in the back where anybody can just drop stuff off. They got to take it with them if it doesn't pick up, because we don't have storage space that we can just collect from there. But that's a brilliant idea to just make it a lot more formal.
Yeah, ours started out more formal and then grew into the include the free cycle channel on our Discord server. Discord, we have a mail list, and it's kind of fizzled out. And now we primarily use Discord to communicate. In fact, that'll be my next question: is what do you do with that? Alith, do you have any kind of free cycle or any equivalent to that in your group?
So yes, but it's a little less formal. We have several members that are part of the infrastructure and IT department of our local university, which is a state university campus. And so we have a lot of students, and students are always on an incredibly tight budget. So that type of equipment doesn't usually last long. We've also got a lot of connections with IT MSPs, and they pull a lot of hardware out of client sites that is going to get trashed. And so we help to make sure that that hardware is, wiped and able to be repurposed, and then we can help to distribute that to students so that they can set up their own labs and repurpose that equipment for their own use and help get them started.
Okay, and TX asked that I explain the free cycle thing again. Free cycle is where you have something that you would like, you don't really want to throw it away because it's still useful, it's just not useful to you. So you're trying to find a new home for it so it doesn't end up in a landfill somewhere, especially for people who have a home lab. Like I upgrade equipment regularly in my home lab. And when I do that, what do I do with the old equipment? Well, I try to find somebody who's especially if they're new and getting started in hacking or in cybersecurity. I try to find a new home for that equipment. Abhishek, do you have something similar in your group?
Right now, we don't have such an initiative within our group, but hearing this is really a great idea, and we would really love to try this out.
Okay. TX, how about in your group? TX, you there? Wait a minute. Is my audio? I think my audio is working.
I
Yeah,
think it's
Yeah,
TX, right?
it's working. Yeah. It looks like we might have lost TX. We'll have to come back to him for that. Now, one of the questions I've been asked regularly is, what is the secret sauce to getting the group up and running and making it popular? And the one thing I found, DC44 is not the first group I've run. I used to be a professional juggler and have ran the International Jugglers Association affiliates groups, which is similar to DEF CON groups, only for juggling, and ran the Tampa Bay Jugglers Association. I was the associate director there. And also I'm a member of, now that I'm in Atlanta, the Atlanta Jugglers Association, where we hold a regional conference. So I've got a fair bit of experience. And the one thing that has been consistent across all groups for making something work is you have to be consistent. Uh, I have to be the first one there, the last one to leave. I show up early and I leave late. There's always going to be somebody who comes in 10 minutes before it's supposed to start and nobody's there and they leave. There's going to be somebody who shows up 10 minutes after it ended and there's nobody there. They leave. And you have to be consistent. You have to be there every single week or every single month in our case. And if you can't be there, I arrange for someone else to be there in my place to make sure that there's always somebody there to greet people and always it's consistent. That if somebody shows up, they know somebody else is going to be there. That has been the number one trick, if you call it, of getting a group really up and running and getting them consistent is doing that. And the second thing is some type of communications, either an email list, a Discord server. And I'm finding Discord to be far better at keeping a group connected and in real time and having fun on Discord or something like Discord than I do on an email list. TX, how about you?
Hey, I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, you are.
Oh, amazing. So yeah, I mean, just like you said that you have somebody for the like catching up, like new people who are coming in. So definitely, as I already said, that each year we go through recruitments of the new goons, and the old ones definitely will have to be there. We do have a core team. We do have all the goons divided into various groups like creative team, logistics team, security team, of course, because the crowd is huge. We definitely do have to call the security from like third party vendors because for sure we have to take care of that. And the code of conduct is really very strict. So because the thing is, if you're running events on such a large scale where the audience scales from 500 to 700 people, you definitely have to take care of a lot of things. First of which is everybody's welcome. Second, everybody has to feel safe. And although it sometimes sounds too a bit rude, but that's the necessary evil. I have to actually announce it on stage that if any such thing is happening, uh, we definitely will have to personally like approach the person who is like suppose misbehaving with somebody or bad mouthing somebody or harassing. Like we just do not condone any sort of harassment whatsoever, irrespective of the age, sex, gender, whatever. We have to make things very clear for everybody so that everybody is welcome. For now, the kids are not welcome because, of course, for the safety reasons. And a lot of times, even the teens, the early teens, like 18 or 19, they are sort of, they come along with their parents. So sometimes we allow the parents as well to be there. because we go through registrations and the tickets are limited. Although those are free, but those have to be limited. We cannot just allow everybody to come in because, again, we have our own occupancy. Now, coming to the part where you asked how do we make it famous, what's the key to make a DEF CON group famous? Of course, the hospitality, the quality, and the sort of whatever we are having over there. I mean, we are the first DEF CON group in India to host a car hacking village, an IoT village, and all of that sort of stuff. Nobody ever has done that before, and I hope that a lot of DEF CON groups will be approaching DC 9111 for the help that they need. They might need that we can offer them to scale their DCG. We're up for it. But again, social media plays a vital role. We do have our availability on like Twitter, Instagram. Facebook is pretty much dead, but Discord, of course, we do have quite a close community. We it and A lot of people, like, it's a word of mouth. Like, each year we're going through the registrations, and we definitely do ask, where did you hear this event from? So a lot of times we get to hear that it was a word of mouth, and that's the most surprising thing to me personally, being the leader of DC 9111. Because if somebody is being talked about, that definitely means it for sure gave a huge impact upon that person's life due to the things that we have been doing. So I'm really proud upon my team and whatever we have been doing. To conclude that one, definitely transparency, one, amazing. Definitely it has to be like everything that we do within the team, it goes transparent, even from balance sheets to all the things that we do, so that there is no question out there that we are gaining something, quote unquote, gaining something out of being a DCG. We are not. We are just doing it for the community. And again, just be honest to the audience. Like, even if suppose if I'm gonna make an equivalency of the USD to Indian national rupee, if we were doing an event for as less as $50, we are capable of doing events as far as 500 or $5,000. But again, the thing to remember over here is budget is not a constraint ever. And I'm so lucky to say that attendees are so beautiful that are coming over there, because like they have such a good heart. Like, I've been approached previous year for crowdfunding, but we didn't need it, so I didn't ask for it, I didn't announce it. We definitely did have a lot of donations coming in 005, of course, because something was going right at DC 9111. So I guess that's it to conclude my question. I'm really sorry for taking too much time.
No, that was an excellent answer. Abhishek, what do you do to get your meetings consistent and help them grow?
So for that, we are having some initiatives. More like we are actively accepting feedbacks from all the attendees that are attending our meetups. Then another thing that I would like to mention here is that uh, before the period when COVID strike us, we were having offline meetings. And when it was locked down due to COVID, many people approached us asking, when are you going to do the online session? Because like they were really waiting for us to make the sessions online, and they were missing the event that much. And after COVID, we were able to conduct two physical meetups for there. Even though we announced it in a very short notice, many people made it to the event. We have a great team of volunteers who has been working with the team since the inception of the DCTVM group, and uh, their effort is really priceless. Plus the support from all our attendees till this point. And our meetup is more like a open forum, which is open to everyone, despite whether they are a student or a working professional, etc. That's all from my side.
Well, thank you. And Leith, what do you do to help your group grow and be consistent?
So we were meeting consistently monthly prior to COVID, and unfortunately, with going virtual for COVID, it really did a number on our attendance post COVID for in person meetups. And so we did kind of a hybrid, like every other month was virtual for a while just to ease people back into it once we determined that we wanted to go back to in person. And once we were convinced that in person was um, going to be the way that we were going to do most of our meetings, we consistently showed up. And when the group understood that at least myself and Ryan would show up every month in person, they felt that um, that responsibility to also show up for the group. And I think that positive peer pressure kind of helped to reinforce the desire amongst the remaining group members to show up in person for the group. And having them there in person also helps to foster the community and that creative spirit, I think, and helps to have folks want to bring more of their friends to meetups and to grow the community. We found it very difficult to grow the group in our local community when we were only meeting up virtually, and just having people face to face. And I think also um, there's something about sharing food with people that creates community. And so incorporating the, sharing of a meal or the sharing of beverages after the presentation element, or just having a strictly social meetup, also helps to grow that desire for people to want to share the group with their friends and to bring more people into it. We've also had members of our group that are involved with the local university help to share flyers and promote the group at the college level. And my personal goal is to spawn a small group at the college as well. So maybe like an offshoot or a child group of our DC 209 group that is based at the college to give younger hackers kind of their own identity, but be there to offer support as the old hackers, but allow them to operate as a separate independent group if they would like to.
And Overcast, what do you do to get your group to be consistent and help it grow?
Well, this could be a dovetail into the enshittification conversation that happens here at DEF CON for the last 2 years about how internet services are kind of becoming the bane of our existence, right? Once they capture us, then the payroll start to go up higher and higher because we got started mainly using Meetup and word of mouth primarily as people would come in and join the group. They'd share the word, but we quickly found that they were primarily being drawn to the group through Meetup. And the price hikes with Meetup, we could continue to swallow that cost as leads, but we're consistently having a conversation that money may be better spent in other areas instead of a service that isn't necessarily truly benefiting or profiting our members directly beyond being discovered. So what we're finding is most of the people who do find us through Meetup are actually associated to us through like 1 or 2 degrees of other, friends of the groups, if you will. So whether one of the things we're doing now is we're kind of consolidating that platform, considering maybe moving off of Meetup and looking more towards LinkedIn. We did use Twitter X for a little while to get that word out, but right now with the way our Discord is, we're primarily focusing on that community that's already in the conversation consistently with us, to reach out to them in that fashion. We don't keep a mail list. If they're on our Discord, they'll see the announcements posted there. We do directly interact with the members and encourage that involvement. I can echo that conversation around what happened with COVID and people going to virtual meetings, because while we did see some participation there and still do, maybe like 12 members, 15 people showing up on the virtual side, we meet at 6 o'clock in the evening. And I don't know about you, but for me, that's just another meeting that I'll have to have. And I've already been on, 12 to 20 other meetings earlier in the day. And it just makes for a very long day if you're not in person. So it is challenging, especially for the virtual space. We have historically tried to release some meetings on YouTube, getting people to sign off on things, but that was mainly because we had a lot of people in our area we were hearing words of, oh, that's a hacker group. What are you guys doing? I don't want to necessarily be associated with that. So we put some of those videos out there just to show, no, these are just people talking. And most of the folks in this group are already working in industries that you would recognize as being helpful benefits to our society, and help change that topic in conversation. So it's something that, even though we have taken action and course of change to get the word out, we're constantly talking with our people to find out if there's better ways that we can to interface with them and carry that word forward. Oh, and one other thing, I was an adjunct professor for a while at a local community college, and I just encourage the students, like, come to the groups. You'll get 5% on this test score. If you want 5 points on that test, it's if you can write me an essay on what you learned from a meeting, get that involvement, because I wanted them to have a takeaway that was more than just, I just sat there and listened. What did you actually learn? What did you walk away from that meeting on? And a lot of those students through the years have actually continued going to our meetings. And we've even heard from some who have moved all over the country long afterwards now, and they're getting plugged into different other groups. So that's it.
Well, excellent. Yeah, you bring up a really good point about how to advertise. You mentioned Meetup, and TX mentioned social media, and I started doing an informal poll during each meeting about if you're new here, how did you find us? And we always have about 5 or 10 people show up new every meeting, and almost universally they always say they found us on Meetup. And we looked at using Meetup. It was expensive at the time, unusually expensive for what it provides. And it has since, like you mentioned, Overcast, it's gone up multiple times, and now it's gotten to the point of being stratospheric. Now, one of the ways that we got around that, to some extent for a while anyway, is there are multiple groups that are all on our Atlanta Cybersecurity Engineers Discord, including DC 404. And so many of the groups pooled together and shared the expense of one Meetup account in order to advertise all the groups. And that's been working so far. However, that's gotten ridiculously expensive. Now, there's a new service that has come out recently. I'm trying to find the name of it. It's something like Mobilizon. Yeah, that's the name of it, Mobilizon. And it's an open source equivalent to Meetup. And we're hoping that that will take off, and that can be potentially used by DEF CON groups to advertise. But the fact that we want to use that to advertise doesn't mean that there's people out there that know about it and will in fact use it. The reason Meetup gets used is because people know about it. And so we've got a chicken and egg sort of problem at the moment with this new service. Now, we have been talking to DEF CON about setting up a Mobilizon service just for DEF CON groups. We'll see if that goes anywhere or not. So TX, do you use anything to advertise? Do you use Meetup or any kind of social media? How do you advertise?
Advertisement, first of all, whenever I hear this word, it feels like we are spending money. Nope. Actually, the thing is, again, as I said, the community has reached to such an extent, like, if we are announcing it on our server, it's going to be everywhere. But definitely we have quite a strong hold on LinkedIn. Like, the last time I checked, DEF CON Delhi's LinkedIn page was around 5,000 followers. And on Instagram, we had around 3,500 or so, which is quite a good number itself. So if we're announcing on, say, likely 3 platforms, generally we announce everywhere. So definitely 1 or 2 posts, a little bit of interaction on the Discord server, and it's done. Like, no rocket science. It's simple. It's very, very simple. And word of mouth, of course, plays a huge role. And of course, because the community is built upon, like, a lot of students are there. So a lot of students means a lot of word of mouth happening around everywhere. And generally, because DEF CON Delhi is, again, it happens all the time in Delhi, and there are a lot of institutes that deal with computer science and IT. there are a lot of IT guys in there in the server itself. So yeah, I mean, most of it is word of mouth. But again, our social media game is quite strong. We don't have to do anything fancy, just basic posts, and it's done. And of course, if anybody's thinking what happens, how are they supposed to do? I mean, of course, keep your social media really interactive. If somebody's making any comments, take time to reply to those. If you're on Instagram, put some stories that have some sort of interaction involved in it. Even if they're on Twitter, reply to the DMs. So that definitely helps with the engagement as well as keeping the announcements um, like engaging enough for everybody to actually spend their time getting to your DEF CON groups page and looking forward to any announcement that's going to happen in future. Like I'm telling you, because people are pretty sure that whenever DEF CON Delhi is going to host an event, it's going to be in the second half of the year. They're pretty much sure about it. That's been a pattern like ever since I would say 0x03. We have been hosting in October, August, December, November. So they generally know about it. And during this time, I can see that there's a lot of traction coming in from everywhere to our social media. People being pinging us about when are you gonna host the next DEF CON event, DEF CON Delhi event or conference, whatever. So definitely, once it is done, you don't have to spend too much time on it, too much like resources over your announcements or advertisement and stuff. It's gonna be a word of mouth most likely. So yeah, that's that.
Oh, excellent. Abhishek, how about your group? How do you advertise?
So for us, it's mainly the social media itself, like mainly LinkedIn, Facebook, and we have a WhatsApp group with all the attendees who have attended till now. Like most of them are there. So whenever we are hosting a new event, we post it out there. From there, it gets just spread by those who are in the group. That's how we advertise. Other than that, we do not rely on any other external advertising. That's it.
Oh, excellent. And Alith, how do you guys advertise?
So we mainly use Twitter, now X, but I still call it Twitter. And then we have a website which essentially just we funnel our Twitter feed to. So dc209.org. And that way we can easily pipe information about our meetups and updates about the group onto a website that's accessible to all and not limit the audience just to folks that are on Twitter. But that's really the easiest way for us to get updates to everybody in the group. I used to have a Slack, but Slack kind of died, so I haven't been as quick to set up a Discord, but I think we're moving to Discord next. But as far as advertising, it's mostly word of mouth, and then just trying to leverage the Twitter to gain um, really brand recognition, and then sharing that out from my personal handle, and then using that to gain more reach, and just having folks be aware that the group exists and then attract more interest that way.
Oh, excellent. And Overcast, you mentioned that you use Meetup. Is there anything else you use?
We do have a website, but we mainly use it to just keep a chronicled list of past meetings that we have. There's some folks who do pay attention to that, but LinkedIn is going to be the main thing that we're probably going to be focusing on going forward. And word of mouth is always going to be there. I will say, to the point where when I travel for work or if I'm just traveling for vacations, if I find that I'm talking to someone, they've got a tech background or interest, and they're not in my city, but maybe they're in yours, those of you who are listening in, I'm advocating for them to go to your DEF CON groups, or if there isn't one, to start one, because their city probably has a decent number of people who would be like-minded to join that community. So, and they could take that role. You don't have to be an uber elite anything. You just need to be willing to host and facilitate. So just advocating that when you can, as you're talking with people.
All right, Overcast, you brought up a good point that I failed to point out. You do not have to be the most elite hacker in the room in order to host a DEF CON group. Most importantly, you just got to be consistent and be friendly, and that's pretty much it. I find that no matter how much I know, I'm always an idiot in the other guy's backyard. Somebody always knows more about something than I do. And so that's the one joy of going to these DEF CON group meetings, is meeting all the other people doing things that I've never heard about that are really interesting. Well, I hate to say it, but we're out of time. So we'd like to thank you all for coming and thank our speakers for sharing with us their experience.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a blast.
You're most welcome. And thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, X-Ray.
Our next